So many people are obsessed with this one, but am I? Well, we'll find out here momentarily. But first, the IMDb plot. After breaking the mysterious One Wish Willow to win his crush's heart, a hopeless romantic finds himself getting exactly what he asked for, but soon discovers that some desires come at a dark, sinister price. Don't they always? Alright, so, lots of buzz going around this one and the back rooms right now. So we'll be getting on that review soon as well. So we'll look forward to that. But with Obsession, let's see. Well, it seems like a lot of people have already seen it, but we'll still try to keep this fairly spoiler free. I do kind of want to mention something at the end, but I'll try to keep it as secret as possible. Um, yeah, so this is and it's got a terrific rating here on IMDb as well. So it is definitely the buzz of the horror world right now, and I'm guessing this will be on a lot of people's top list for the year. Will it be on mine? Again, we'll see here soon, but. Um, yeah, let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. To start, kind of get a grasp there with the plot. Yeah, it's one of these, boyfriend, girlfriend, obsessed kind of movies. It's going to get a little crazy here. So, yeah, it starts off, we introduce this to, a small group of friends. And, within this friend group, this one guy, he kind of likes the other girl, but whether she feels the same, that's not really certain. And his friend is trying to convince him, hey, go for it. You want to talk to her, to do this and that, giving some friend advice there and trying to get him to push him along, but he's not really sure if he wants to break that awkwardness of staying friends, or maybe seeing if she does have some feelings, um, and opposed to taking that risk and kind of doing it the easy way. And he's definitely a little bit awkward around her. He goes into the store kind of looking for a gift for her, and ends up with this One Wish Willow. And, I've never heard of that before. I don't know if this is a thing or they just kind of made this up for the movie, whatever. And he buys it. And, um, you know, after another kind of awkward exchange with her, and I guess he felt the pressure, maybe that he couldn't just be honest with her. Um, he decides to just give this wish thing a chance. And, we've kind of seen, some horror movies out there do the wish thing, and you wish. And, if it was a regular movie, maybe those dreams come true, and, everybody lives happily ever after. Or, maybe it's a comedy and, funny stuff happens. But this is horror, and we know that when there's a horror and there's the wishes going on, it's not going to be good. And almost immediately, they kind of have this exchange in the car, and then she goes to leave, and then he makes the wish, and then she comes back, and it almost kind of takes place right away. And she starts doing this being clingy thing. She has to be by him, and so forth. So it definitely kind of follows by the title here, because as opposed to her just kind of falling in love with him, she basically is obsessed. It becomes an obsession. So it's not really just I'm gonna love you and we're just gonna have a loving relationship. It is like, the further this goes on, the harder harder it is for her to be away from him. And that's while he can appreciate her loving him, and that's what he wanted. it is a tad much, and it becomes a little bit awkward for him. Um, so yeah, the kind of things, kind of start off kind of okay, and he gets what he wants. He's going to be with her. She's there. She's with him, and so forth. But then her behavior is going to just get stranger and stranger and stranger, and as she becomes more and more obsessed and with him, and then kind of as this goes on, of course, he's going to start having some regrets. What did I do? This is too much. I'm glad she loved me, but she's acting strange, doing weird stuff. I'm not going to tell you everything that she does, that's completely weird. For the few that have not seen this yet, you can kind of witness some of that yourself. I kind of like what she did to the door. That was pretty funny. And definitely a further expression of her obsession. But yeah, she's gonna, kind of do a lot of things acting weird and odd. And then later in the movie, we kind of really kick it into gear into kind of my realm where we start to get some blood and guts, and it kind of gets into that kind of area. So with that kind of said, I guess one more thing, I guess, we'll throw in there. Of course, he's going to go on the search to find out, hey, how can I reverse this whole wish thing, because, I've made a mistake. This is too much. So we're going to have that as well. So yeah, as far as the movie and my thoughts, okay, so of course, I'm going to appreciate again what this movie and what the Backrooms has supposedly done to be kind of original horror. Although I think with this one, we see some ideas there that have been done before. In one way or the other, which again is hard, but this is not a remake, not a reboot, so we love that, and we love that this type of movie has made a lot of money in that way, because it can show for some of these studios out there, and one specifically that loves to just do remakes and reboots of everything that it can possibly get its hands on, that we can calm down with that. Let's take it easy. Not everything needs to be done a second time, and not everything needs a sequel after 20, 30 years. Original horror can make money and can do well. So let's give that a chance. So I've been a strong believer of that for a while now. So get that out of the way. As far as liking this movie maybe as much, and being obsessed with this movie as many have, it's not a bad movie, but I can't say that I was necessarily in love with it as many others are. I think the girl's performance in it is definitely good. She does definitely do a good job. I'm not going to say that I was blown away. They say a lot of people were kind of blown away by her performance and say that it's going to set her up for other things, and hopefully it does. Nothing against her. Hopefully this does wonders for her. I read how much she was paid for this and what the movie made. Maybe she needs a bonus. But she did do a good job, especially kind of. The fun parts where you're kind of acting normal, then all of a sudden that kind of flips, and all of a sudden you're crazy, and definitely as the movie went on, and she had to definitely super flip there towards the end. That was fun, and I also did a good job. The guy, on the other hand, I don't know, like I just he. I know he's supposed to be kind of awkward with it and so forth, and with the whole relationship thing, and then getting her, but then being like, this is not what I wanted, really. I don't know. I just wasn't sold on him and what was going on there. I don't know. Um, and, while it didn't seem like it, wow, this movie was an hour and 48. Well, it didn't seem like it took maybe too long to kind of get into, this whole obsession thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought, I like I said, obviously you guys know, I like the blood and guts. So when we kind of got to that kind of area of the thing, of the movie, that's really when it kind of kicked into gear for me. Kind of everything before, obviously, it's slow steps. She's not gonna go super flip out early and so forth. And we kind of have to move along with that. But sometimes my patience for that is kind of like, I tell you guys all the time, I like to see something more horror-ish kind of happen, every so often. We need to do that. And, while you can kind of see what's coming and whatever, like even conversations when, he was not with her and maybe talking to his friend or trying to figure out what's going on. Like, I don't know, maybe it wasn't just because I wasn't sold on him and his performance. I don't know. Like, it was just kind of like, okay, I'm just waiting till we get to the true part here where she's going to truly go nuts, and we're truly going to see, how this is going to end and how he's going to get out of this. So it really wasn't until later on till we get to that at least for me, that I was kind of like, I liked, I don't want to go through it and give away, for the few that may have not seen this yet, the things that do happen. I think, when she really does flip out and in the apartment, and they kind of had that showdown, and she's trying to force his hand, that was quite dramatic, and she does some crazy stuff there. That was fun, and then what happened in the car, that was a good scene as well. So again, I almost want to simplify it to my horror likings lately. It's just kind of like, when the blood and guts happen, I'm good. Everything else is kind of, it's okay. But, I don't know. A good movie, what, again, was I obsessed with it in the end? No. Again, I'm happy that it made a lot of money and so forth, and it's original horror, but, I don't know, like, I just feel that, some of the movies over the last, couple of years, when I see the movie and I'm like, wow, that was awesome, and thrilled, and I know, okay, this is going in the top 10, this is going to be, close to the top, right away. I didn't quite grab that feel with this one. Liked what they did, liked, the story they came up with. But just, didn't say, wow, okay, that was freaking cool. As far as the end, again, I'm not going to give anything away. I do like the way, it came to kind of the conclusion, between the two of them. I thought, again, trying to be spoiler free, that, I wanted a little bit, I thought I just wanted a little bit more there, like, as far as her and what happens there. I thought, maybe they moved away from that reaction a tad quick, and should have maybe let her soak that in, and let him and let us soak that in that moment a little bit more, than what they did there. And because as you realize what is happening, and there, it's a big moment, and I just felt like, we should have had just a touch more. Again, I'm trying to be a little bit vague because I don't want to spoil the ending there, for anybody who didn't see it, but I just, again, thought there should have been a little bit more to the reaction, or at least we should have enjoyed that reaction just a touch bit more than we did. So yeah, I at the end of the day, I'm not gonna, harp on, geez, what, 80,000 reviews here, or ratings on IMDb. That's pretty freaking good here for a horror movie that just came out. Again, I'm not gonna, argue or slam anybody or whatever. You love this movie, that's absolutely fine. If it did it for you, that's absolutely fine. Again, congratulations. I'm glad this movie made a lot. I'm glad a lot of horror fans saw it and continue to support original horror. But then on the flip side, I'll just throw this in at the end. It made a lot of money, but so did Scary Movie. And, while as of this moment right now, I've not seen Scary Movie, but, this is, again, a long-awaited sequel. And, I'm sure that as far as with, like, Scary Movie, you're getting a lot of, there are some horror fans going to watch it, but you're also going to get a lot of non-horror fans that are just watch it for comedy or because you hate horror or just whatever. And, it made a lot of money, too. So, again, we're not doing anything to kind of slow down the also, long-awaited sequel / remake / reboot camp either. I'm glad horror in general makes a lot of money and continues to pump them out, but is it truly saying anything when you have this movie that makes a lot of money, but then you have that makes a lot of money? Because at the end of the day, for them, it's more about the money than anything else. As us, the watchers, the viewers, the ones that love horror, we're enjoying it for the horror, but there's a lot behind the scenes that are just for the money, and we see that, and that's why we get these remakes and so forth. So you have to kind of split it there and figure out what's the best route to go. I just wish they would calm down, but again, congratulations to this movie, and we'll see this on a lot of people's top list. I'm not sure mine, not that I hate this movie or not, but I don't know if I'm getting long in the tooth here with all the horror movies that I watch. But so far I've again just kind of seen everything almost in the same light and so forth. Nothing is extremely blowing me away at the moment. So this one I'm gonna give it 3.5. A little bit more. I was kind of thinking 3, but I'll give it 3.5 because I'm kind of thinking of some of the craziness happened at the end, and I do enjoy that. So that'll be 3.5 pools of blood, and maybe a 0.5, added in there to just kind of go with the rest of the crowd here who's just loving it. Pools of blood, and that'll be out of 5 for this one. So, am I obsessed? Not totally, but definitely, still a solid movie, and glad it's done well. And if you have not seen it, join the crowd. Everybody else has enjoyed it, so why not? So with that, horrorsquarereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written and video, tons of video reviews for a while now. So you can like and subscribe and do everything else that everybody wants to do here on YouTube. If not, no worries. It is okay. I thank you for your time regardless. Blue Sky and Facebook information down below. Reach out to me there if there's something you want me to review, talk horror, ask me why I wasn't obsessed with this movie some more, or down in the comments section say, hey, you should be obsessed with this movie. That's fine as well, and definitely your thoughts on it. So with that, I'll catch you on the next review, horror fans.